What is up, PTP fam? The gang is here. The gang is all here. If you guys are just tuning in, we have a really great special guest for you guys tonight. Hit the share button for us. Break the Facebook algorithm, the YouTube algorithm, whatever algorithm you guys need to break. Let's break it. Break that glass ceiling. I see the comments.
Break it.
I'm just out of breath because I just ran downstairs because my dogs are crazy. Again, I had to run down again. Hello, what's up, guys? Melissa from Massachusetts. Oh my gosh, Nay cracks me up.
I love her.
I love her. Sarah's from Ohio. What's up, guys? What is up? There they go. The comments rolling in. Hit the like button too, guys. Hit the heart button. Smash it. We have a really great kind of featured guest for you guys. It's going to be a nice little segment before we show Schmo Biden's speech later. Say that 10 times fast. Schmo Biden speech. We'll see how terrible his rollout of his plan is, and we'll kind of break that down, give the live commentary. This one will not be a drinking one, but we will be live broadcasting it for you guys. But before further ado, guys, we're going to introduce our special guest. This is Leonidas Johnson. For those of you who don't know who he is, he's a cultural, political commentator who was just featured on Fox News with Laura Ingraham. Oh,
sorry.
She's doing her part in sharing, dude.
I was like, dude, I just messed up. I just hit the button. He's also the host of the Informed Dissent podcast. So, guys, make sure you go and check that out, where he aims to bring a common sense approach to hot button topics such as race, gender, economics, liberty, and the general role of government in society, which is kind of what we break down here at Primetime Patriots. He encourages people to push back against the culture of groupthink, and the challenge of the narrative. So before further ado, here is Leonidas for you guys. Hello.
What's up, guys? What's up? Thanks for having me on.
I feel like I just saw you on TV.
Yeah. Last night, I was on Ingram talking about the atrocities of Black Lives Matter, and that was a lot of fun. Talking about how hypocritical they are and how they're basically just this massive grifting operation. You know, their leaders are out buying mansions and doing these, multi-$1,000 meetings and whatnot, and nobody knows where the money is going. Nobody knows where else the money's going. Nobody knows who they're actually supposed to be helping, and so they're like a traveling evangelist that goes around and steals people's offerings at this point. Like people have no idea. Like they're just like, oh, they're doing miracles. Here we go, have my offering, and then they just take the money and go on vacation. So
yeah, exactly.
Shots fired. Yeah, shots fired. I was gonna say a name, but I'm not gonna do that on this show.
Do they vacation at each house they buy, or like how does this work?
Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah,
okay,
I think they switch off every season.
Did you have to bite your tongue yesterday when you were on live? Like, some things you couldn't say that you wanted to say?
Yeah, well, I mean, when you're on national news like that, it's going fast. So I think the segment was like 3.5 minutes. So I had to pack as much in as possible in the time that I was allotted. And Ingram, she cuts in on you, and she'll ask her questions and whatnot. But you have to try to get as much in as you can in the short time that you have. So
right.
I just tried to just make as much of an impact as I could in the time I was allotted.
Well, I think it's great. I got to watch your segment. Like you said, it was pretty short. And I was like, I want more. And then thankfully, Brian, shout out to Brian for reaching out to you, because it's super great having you. But before, guys, like I said, he does Informed Dissent. It's his podcast. You guys have to check it out. You guys have to tune in and, listen to him regularly. We have a great following. People who follow us follow all the people that we kind of introduce them to. So before we get into things, he was also an actor. Kind of give us a little background of where you're from, what you did, and where you came from.
Yeah, so I came from the theater world, and actually started as a director and a writer, and got into acting and did some musical theater, did a few plays and things like that around the community, and eventually started working in like Chicago and New York for a while, but that got to be too much because I was driving to Chicago like 6.5 hours from where I live in Southern Ohio. because my wife doesn't want to move to Chicago. So I was driving like 6.5 hours just to go do these projects. So it just got to be too much. And so I decided to do politics instead. Because
it's much less stressful, I think.
Much less stressful. Yeah. So yeah, I started picking up things, social media. I started putting my ideas out there. People started really responding to it. And I built up a following slowly over a couple of years. And somebody suggested that I do a podcast, and that's how that really took off. So it didn't really happen overnight. It was just kind of I didn't even intend to do it. It's just something that kind of happened. People started following, started really resonating with people. And here I am with 107,000 followers on Twitter, and I have no idea how that happened. So it's crazy.
It's great that you're in Ohio, because Kaylee and I are also in Ohio. And when Suni comes to the States, she's going to be joining us, collabing with different universities in Ohio. So we're definitely going to have to hook up and see where you're at and see if you guys want to join us on our ventures, because we're going to go to college campuses and kind of like start a movement. Like we've already started a movement here at Primetime Patriots, strengthen numbers across the country. And thankful for all of them. Like we wouldn't be here where we are today without them. But I kind of want to dive into more of your mission and what you're doing. I'm going to pull up your page here because I found this to be very, very interesting. We don't get to see the narrative. And as everybody knows here in our following, they know that we like to share the truth and what's actually going on. And you also share the truth. And we don't see this in mainstream media. But I kind of want to talk about your page that you have here and kind of elaborate on what you're doing here and bringing light to something that is not talked about at all.
Yeah. So I started this page last year when I realized how many children were being murdered in street violence. And I just felt awful at the time because I didn't realize how many kids it actually was. I think there was like 10 kids that were killed over July 4th weekend or something like that. It was insane. And that's really what brought it to my attention. And so I started looking into it, started researching it. And, a lot of kids, like, and not just kids that are just under 18, but kids under 13, kids under 5, babies, toddlers. And it's not just Chicago, it's like all over the country. So I started tracking it, and it ended up being like 500 some kids under the age of 18 that were killed last year in street violence, and at least 78 kids under the age of 13 who were killed in street violence. And it's just awful stuff. And this is something that nobody's really talking about. So now we're into 2021, and I've restarted the database, and we're already up to 20. We're less than 4 months into the year, and we're already up to 20 kids that have been killed in street violence. And kids kids that are playing in their yard, kids that are sleeping in their bed. Jaslyn Adams sitting in a McDonald's drive-thru. Somebody shoots up her car. I mean, these things are so appallingly awful. It's just incredible to me that we're not talking about it on a national level, because this seems like the crisis to me. This is the crisis that we should be addressing. We talk about police brutality all the time. There were 18 unarmed Black people who were killed by police last year. There have been 20 children under the age of 13 who have been killed in street violence already in less than 4 months. So
where's Queen LeBron at?
Exactly. That's what I imagine. Just imagine, putting his antics aside, just imagine the impact somebody like LeBron could have if he put a spotlight on this stuff and really put it into people's consciousness. Because right now, like when I introduce this to people, they don't know. They're shocked. They can't believe it. They're like, what? I had no idea. And like I said, when I first heard about it last year and I started looking into it, I had no idea, and I was shocked. So it's just something we really need to talk about, because you talk about the crisis, and it's not just Black kids either. It's white kids, it's Latino kids. There's a little Indian girl that was killed. So it's happening. It's not exclusive to any race, and it's something we really need to address. If we're going to address this, if we're going to protect our children, if we're going to worry about lives and worry about protecting lives and lives that matter, then that's where we need to put the focus.
And it's becoming such a norm in the culture of America that this to happen. Like 500 incidents, you said, in the year of 2020 occurred, in the mainstream media is silent, because putting light on the actual things that are happening in this country does them no good. It doesn't force their narrative, so therefore they can't push an agenda. Right. And in reality, you just nailed it straight on the head, is that it's not just Black children, and it's not so much that, it's more of the culture that we innate this in America, that it makes it normalized. Like the fact that no one wants to see this happen, but why aren't we addressing why it is happening? And it's clearly happening way more than it should ever happen. I mean, 20 kids in the last, and that's of what you know and can report on. That's like what we know. And 500 to me is 500 and is 400 and 499 and 500 too many. It shouldn't be happening. And how do we address that? And why aren't these big, names? LeBron James, like, what is she doing? I just don't understand why they can't use their platforms.
Right. Absolutely. He absolutely should. And, it's incredible when people talk about defunding police and getting less police in these communities. I don't know if you saw the Jaslyn Adams video where they carried her little body away from the car to go do CPR in the police cruiser. I mean, the cops did that. The cops were the only ones that were caring about that little girl at that time. You know what I mean? So like the cops are responding to these calls. The police are responding to these calls and going and, cleaning up these crime scenes, picking up these broken bodies, these little broken bodies, and they have to see this. They have to deal with this. And so there's just a complete lack of respect for law enforcement and a lack of perspective of what's actually happening in these communities. I mean, we've seen the crime rates skyrocket in places like Minneapolis and Portland, where they pulled back on policing. And people just don't think about the second and third order effects. When you take the police away, then you're going to get more crime, you're going to get more murders, and then you're going to get more dead children. And so if you want to stop it, then we need to think about what's the most effective strategies. Like you were saying, like, what do we need to address? What's actually going to fix the problems in these communities?
Right. And it's just sad because you see an uptick and you see so much, more crime occurring where these places where they started to initiate defunding the police. And the sad thing about it is the people that are most impacted by defunding the police are the Black communities in America. And that's what, like, people don't. And here's the thing. It's not a majority of Black people who don't like police. They did a poll and it said over 70 some percent wanted more police presence within their neighborhoods. So who's really pushing this narrative? Because it's not the Black community. They're literally saying straight up, almost 70% believe in voter ID. So who is pushing this narrative? It's the white left liberals.
What's voter ID? I don't know what that is.
It's racist. You wouldn't know.
He can't pull that up on his phone, he can't find the place to go to get all that. No.
I had to have my resident white friend get me on the internet because I didn't understand.
Well, this is a cell phone. I don't know. This is you call people. Stupid. That's so insulting.
It's so insulting.
I don't know how anyone can be like, oh yeah, I agree with, like, I don't get it. And it's the white liberals that are pushing this agenda. And that's what's the most toxic thing in America right now is the white liberals speaking for Black liberals. And the Black liberals are actually pretty conservative once they realize what they truly are. So it makes no sense. I was like, what's the downfall of America right now is not the Black liberals. It's the white liberals who think they can control everybody and are speaking a narrative that they don't even live. So how can I just don't get it. Right. I know Simi had some questions for you that she wanted to hone in on.
Sure.
Her mind's been ticking.
It is. So I have this theory, and I would like to know what you think about it. But I think that BLM is a tool to go ahead and finish off the genocide that we're already committing against ourselves. Mm-hmm. This is going to be used to remove police. This is just what I think, because they're painting the narrative as if Black folks don't want police there. And let's be real, we've heard a lot of Black folks say they don't want police there. I grew up in an all Black female family, all of them.
Yeah.
And they all individually have something. They have an issue with cops for whatever reason. It's there. How do you think we, as Black conservatives, because we translate to them, how do we wake them?
Ooh, that's the heavy question. Now, like, it's easy to point out the problems. It's hard to point out the solutions.
Well, you know what Thomas Sowell said? Thomas Sowell says there are no solutions, only trade-offs.
Trade-offs. Yes. Thank you for that. Thank you for that Sowell quote. No solutions, only trade-offs. I love it. But yeah, I mean, it's hard to tell because a lot of people are so rooted in their ideology and their own personal biases that no amount of evidence you show them will open their eyes. And honestly, you know, I used to be like that. I used to be on that side of the fence. I used to have the victim mentality, and I used to, you know, think that my skin color was a detriment, you know, and, you know, held me back. And I used to think that way, and, you know, had the animosity toward police, all of that. So, but what changed it for me was I started having this sort of drive to find the truth. And it was around the time that that Michael Brown was killed. What was that, 2013?
Same here.
Yeah. Oh, really? No. Yeah. That's really when it started for me. Yep. And what I noticed was that the media was not telling the truth, and it kind of clicked for me that I was like, wait a minute, like why aren't they telling the truth? What is this hands up, don't shoot stuff? Why are they still pushing this after it's come out that that's clearly not what happened? And so I got real suspicious and started researching things on my own, because before that point, I wasn't really political at all. I didn't really pay attention. I just, you know, Obama came out, he said stuff, and I was like, yeah, that's true.
Leonidas, question for you. Like, yeah, what in your mind wanted you, like, there is something, because I felt that same way too. Like, why do we get that inkling to want to know? Like, what drives us to want to know more? And I want to replicate that feeling of wanting more knowledge.
I wish I knew. I wish I knew what it was, because it took until that moment for me for something to click. And I can't really put my finger on why it took that long. And it may have been more gradual, because I remember questioning Trayvon Martin shooting as well a little bit. And I was like, wait a minute, that's not really clicking right. And then when the Michael Brown thing happened, then I was really started seeking things on my own. And once I found out that the media was lying about that, then I was like, well, what else are they lying about? And it turned out to be, it turned out to be quite a bit. And so here we are. I've completely done a 180 on my political philosophy. And yeah, it's just, so, I mean, it has to be an internal drive, you know, it has to come somewhere internal. People have to want to open up their worldview and challenge their own worldview. And that's not an easy thing to do. So I don't know. That's not a great answer. I'm sorry. But
no, I'm just trying to show how hard it is to, I'm trying to show how Democrats aren't helping. Yeah. We're sitting here talking to two Black people that came from this lifestyle, because we have the exact same story. Mike Brown was like, huh? For me?
Yeah.
There are no solutions. Democrats keep pushing solutions. Oh, if we just push police reform, that'll fix it. Oh, let's defund them. That'll fix it. Oh, let's put more programs here. That's going to fix it. No, we need to have some uncomfortable trade-offs for people to wake up.
Well, for the Democrats, it's all about demagoguery. You know, it's all about like, well, your life is this way because of those people over there. You know, you're stuck in the hood because of white supremacy. That's why. Like, you have no personal responsibility for your life, and you can blame white people. And that's the message that they've been pushing, and it's been working for them, because I guess it feels good. I guess it feels good to blame other people and not have to take personal responsibility for yourself. But I mean, that's not an easy message to tell people. You know, that's not an easy message to communicate, because you want to have empathy. But at the same time, it needs to be some tough love where you're like, like, listen, man, like you gotta do what you need to do and stop blaming other people and take responsibility for yourself. And, you know, people get contentious when that happens. So it's a tough road to Trump.
And I can speak on that too. Like, for example, within the gay community, it's always pushed the rhetoric that, oh, it's the conservatives that are holding me down. It's the people who believe in Jesus that are holding me down. They're always blaming someone else rather than themselves. And I always make a joke, like, because like being gay in America, like people say, oh, like people literally tell me, and I'm sure that you guys have probably experienced, like, you're so oppressed living in America. I was like, that is the most insultful thing that I've ever heard, that you're going to sit here and tell me you're going to sit here and say you're oppressed. Like you automatically assume that you are more than me or you are given more than me because I'm gay. And I don't understand that rhetoric whatsoever, because that makes no sense. That I am a free thinker and I have just as much, if not now more, ability to be successful than other people just because I'm a minority, which just makes it's making it to a point where minorities don't have to work as hard as the non-minorities. Right. And that's scary.
It's a victim mentality. I mean, it's a victim mentality. That's what they push, because like he said, it's easier.
Yeah.
It's just easier to blame somebody else. It feels better. It's easier.
Yeah. That's absolutely true. They've Sunni. Well, I mean, listen, as minorities, it's so freeing once you find that internal locus of control. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm sure that's true for you too, because when you're blaming the outside world and feeling like you don't have no control over your circumstances, you're miserable and you're not going anywhere. You're just spinning your wheels, and then you're always finding excuses. It's like, well, why didn't you go to college? Well, I can't because I'm black. I can't because they're holding me down. I can't, It's like, well, why aren't you getting marketable skills? Oh, well, there's oppression, there's systemic racism. It's like, and you're just spinning your wheels. But it's so freeing when you take responsibility and you have that internal locus of control. Yeah. And even when you fail, even when you fall down and you smack your face off the ground, you say, okay, like that was all me. That I'm going to pick myself back up and let's do it again. I know what not to do this time and I know how to do it correctly. And then you go, and then when you succeed, like, yeah, that was me. I got it. Yeah. So I mean,
I'm telling you, man.
Yeah.
It feels good to take responsibility. When I finally was just like, dang, okay, this is me. You're like, okay, the world is not as bad as I thought it was.
It opens up. Yeah. It opens up completely. And and I mean, bad things happen, man. There's jerks out there. There's people that are going to hate you for whatever reason, but you have to recognize that those are not barriers to your success. You know what I mean? Like one person saying like, no, I'm not going to hire you because of this. Like that's one person. Forget them. Forget that person. Someone going to be mean to you. Someone called you a name, whatever. Like move on. Know that your life is in your control and not their control. And if you're going to let them completely take control of your life, you're not going to go anywhere. You're not going to make it, man. And so that's just, it just can change my entire perspective once I realized that I have control over my life.
It's a weak mentality. It really comes down to that. When people say, oh, I can't do this. And it's in all aspects of life. It's like, and I hear that from white people too. They're like, I can never do this. My parents never went to college. And I'm like, you just make excuses. And I see that all throughout life. Like where people told me like, cause I'm like the first generation, like I'm first generation, I'm my first person in my entire family to get a bachelor's degree. And, if I went in the mentality like, oh, my parents didn't do it, I'm not going to do it. Like imagine where I'd be right now. And so like people, I feel like whenever anyone tells me that in any circumstance, like I can't do this because of this, unless you have some like physical ability that's going to legitimately stop you from doing that, like it's not going to be possible. Like you can do whatever you set your mind to. And in America, that's why I think the American dream is still alive. Like whatever you set your mind to in America, you can achieve. It's just how bad you want it. And just because you can't get it doesn't mean it's this white person's fault or it's this Christian's fault. It's your fault because you're not taking responsibility that you're not giving the effort to get there. And you can get there. Anybody can get anywhere they want to be. And it comes down to self-awareness, and it comes down to taking responsibility, like you guys said. And that's in all avenues of life. Not only like it's like every little dynamic of your life. You have to take responsibility. I'm not going to sit here and fail a test and be like, that's my teacher's fault.
Yeah.
I mean, even though sometimes they're shady, but like it's not their fault.
Yeah. And like I said, some things will happen because there are bad things that happen to everybody. There's bad people in the world. There's evil people in the world that are going to treat you badly, but you just have to brush it off and keep moving. And when it comes to racial issues, a lot of times people want to fall back on race as a crutch, and people want to center their entire identity around race. And I have a huge problem with that because, at this point, like if we're going to move forward as a society, and I don't know how much time we have. I'll be quick here, but if we're going to move forward as a society, I feel like we have to let go of this centering identity around race and really making race the be all end all of everything that everybody is and does and everything that happens. Because right now, that's the people in power. That's all they're pushing. Anytime something happens, like, well, what's the racial dynamic here?
Mhm.
Critical race theory.
Identity
It's in all of our
politics.
institutions. Yeah, identity politics. It's invading all of our institutions, and it's finding its feelers into all of the entirety of our society. And it's a huge problem, because as long as we do that, we're going to keep perpetuating racial division and keep perpetuating racism itself. So
we literally have become so diverse. Like, we have become so diversified that it's literally become reverse diversification and made it actually more racist. Like,
yeah.
And I don't understand how we got here, but we're here and we're living it.
I do. You want to know how we got here?
Yeah, let me know.
You really want to know?
Spill the tea.
The older generation. He just summed it all up in one thing. If more Black folks would stand up and say, no, my skin color does not hinder me, I'm capable just like you are. If the older generation would do that, we wouldn't be here.
Right.
We just experienced the older generation of Black Negro militant. I'm talking about old school Democrats, where she straight up told me, you don't have a chance at life. You cannot. She told me you can't build generational wealth. I looked around the room like,
who are you talking to?
wait, facts. I'm 56. I know this. I went to a HBCU, and I'm like,
Oh man,
girl, you're the reason we're here.
Wow.
That representation of the older generation out of touch with 2021 is why we're here.
Wow. Yeah, and I just posted on Twitter today that, man, like, it makes no sense to complain about racism while simultaneously pushing racial division and racial identity. It doesn't make sense. Like, if you're going to say that my race, if you're going to say my skin color is the most important thing about me, and that you need to treat me based on that, but then get mad when somebody treats you like, it doesn't make sense. Like, you're self-defeating there.
Yeah.
So, like, if we want to get rid of racism, we need to de-emphasize skin color as a major factor in identity. Now, that doesn't mean that we have to get rid of heritage and that we have to get rid of skin color. We have to be colorblind. I mean, obviously, like, we're all unique. We all have our different shades of skin, our different eye color, different hair color. But the idea is to de-emphasize it. And it's so that it's not so important in who we are. And that's how you get rid of racism. That's because that's what racism is. Racism is treating people differently based on their skin color. And now we have all these people out here saying, I want you to treat me differently based on my skin color, or else that's racist. It's completely backwards.
I feel like we always say it's like mental gymnastics trying to understand. Like, 'cause you got to really do a couple flips, and then you got to land, you got to land it and stick the landing, or like you don't get it. Like,
Yeah.
like, it was funny today. One of my coworkers has tickets to go to the what's it called? The draft, the NBA draft. But you have to have a proof of vaccine to go.
Oh, is she white or Black? Sorry, hold on. Is she white or Black?
She's white.
Oh, so tell her by participating, she is bidding on Black people, which means you're contributing to the white supremacy of the country.
Okay,
Go ahead and flip it like that on her.
And I'm gonna start calling you hand soap. So she's like, oh, well, my husband can't go because he doesn't have his vaccine. And I was like, oh, she's like, but I think what I'm going to do is tell them that we're going to use my daughter's card and tell them that he identifies as a female and they can't question it.
They can't question it. And they can't. Yeah, that's hilarious.
And I was like, damn, that is really true. Like, you really can do that. Like, in their theory, like, I can identify as a COVID vaccinated person.
Why not?
So, what I am. And so all of you need to respect it.
Respect my identity. Yeah. Honestly, I wanted Trump to come out as female before the end of his term, just so he would be the first woman president. I wish he would have done it. Like, it would have been great.
I love it.
I'm actually at work today. So now he's the first. Yeah, that would have been awesome. But,
I'm gonna leave you guys with this before we wrap up, because we have Schmo Joe coming to talk soon, featuring live from the basement. We'll be reporting it here at Primetime Patriots. But they immediate release. It says from the excerpt remarks from his prepared delivery. Ready? He said, 100 days since I took oath of the office, lifted my hand off our family Bible, and inherited a nation in a crisis. The worst pandemic in century. The worst economic crisis since the Great Depression. The worst attack on our democracy since the Civil War.
Oh, since the Civil War.
Bro.
Can we have our guests tell us how everybody can follow him? Because they've been asking in the comments. I've kind of been watching. They're like, does he have Facebook? What's his website? Give us the lowdown.
I don't know what internet is. I told you guys.
Okay. All right. So it's Bill Gates. No, I'm just kidding.
Bill Gates. Okay, so LeonidasJohnson.com is my website.
I'll post it in here. I'll do it. Leonidas.
Yeah.
I'll send it to everybody right now.
The podcast is called, thank you. The podcast is called Informed Dissent, and you can listen to that on any of the major podcast platforms, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, whatever. And you can find me on Twitter and Facebook. Just search my name. It'll come up. So yeah, come follow me, interact, get involved in the conversations. We have heated conversations on social media, so I don't shy away from stuff. Man.
I can't wait to have you on the show, y'all. I'm excited now because I'm the same way. I don't care. I say the most controversial thing that I know people's gonna be.
Let me sum this up for you. She just got out of like almost a 30 or 60 day ban on her Facebook. Literally today. Guess who got banned on Facebook today?
Immediately.
Until May 5th. They're like, nah, she's back already. Get her off.
You know what back? It was?
No.
I said Jesus is God, straight like that.
That's all you said?
I said a lot more. I was talking.
You said a lot more.
Listen, you over here acting like I just said, yeah, this is it. No, it's never just that's it. Like she goes, here's the line, okay? Here's the line. Here's Sunni.
Yeah. I love it, though.
Like,
I love it.
Over here.
Yeah, we have to connect, man, because I'm all about it. Yeah.
All right.
I woke up one day and said black people aren't oppressed, and that's all I said. And
now you're racist.
That got that got like 100,000 likes and retweets, and it was crazy.
Nice.
Like people comments like it was ratioed like crazy. It was absurd. Like that's all I said. Black people are not oppressed. It's like you think that doesn't really seem controversial to me, but yeah.
Now you're a racist and a white.
Now I'm racist. Yeah. Somebody just called me. I got some hate mail calling me a white supremacist just today.
How ironic.
Yeah. But thank you so much. Makes sense. Thank you so much for coming on the show. We'll have to have you on again if you'd like to come on. Sunni's.
Yeah. I have a question. Are we staying on? Okay, no. So we ending this. Or are we going straight into Biden?
We've got a second StreamYard set up for Biden.
Okay, so he can stay backstage then, because I want to get his information. Yep. Okay, cool.
All right, guys, thanks for tuning in. Make sure to follow him on all of his social media platforms. And if you guys need anything, as always, reach out, slide in our DMs. We're here for you. Over and out. Kaylee, you can wrap it up, and please don't mess it up this time.
I won't.
Yes, black people can be racist.